Good evening, everyone. This is the meeting of the Medical Marijuana Commission for May 18th, 2022 here at Pontiac City Hall in the city of Pontiac, Michigan. Right now it is, according to my clock, 6:09 p.m., and I will officially call this meeting to order. Roll call, Mr. Secretary.
Ford Jr.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Neely. Here. Orath. Here.
Okay, we have an agenda. There are no amendments to the agenda, so I will seek a motion to approve the minutes of May 12th. I'm sorry.
Agenda.
That's right. Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Can I get a motion?
Brother Chair Paul Wilson, I move that the agenda be approved as printed.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Approved. A motion made by Wilson, second by Porret. Roll call.
Wilson,
Yes.
Maley,
Here.
Parath,
Here.
Ford.
And that's actually yes.
Oh,
It's a
Okay.
yes.
I'm not even.
All right.
Not here. I'm just assuming these things.
So we have yeses from. Do the roll call again if you don't mind.
Wilson,
Well, this is approval
Yeah, it's-
for the agenda. Roll call.
Wilson,
Just a second. What's your name?
Wilson.
Here.
No. Yes or yes.
Yes.
Yes or no to approve?
Maley,
Oh, I thought we did the agenda.
Parath,
Yes to approve.
Ford.
Yes to approve the agenda. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, and get a motion to approval for the approval of the minutes from May 12th, 2022. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second?
A second.
Okay. Motion's been made by Porret and second by Wilson. Roll calls.
Maley,
Yes to approve.
Parath,
Yes to approve.
Ford,
Yes to approve.
Wilson.
Yes to approve.
Okay. And we have a couple of agenda items that we want to just have read into the record. One is the Green Bronco 3 LLC request to withdraw its downtown overlay district provisioning center appeal. And anything?
Just need to receive it.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
All right. We're just receiving it. Thank you. And item number 3, we're receiving communication from Detroit Medical Concepts LLC request to withdraw its downtown overlay district provisioning center appeal. Okay. Next will be discussion on downtown overlay district provisioning center appeal hearings. First up for discussion will be Green Buddha 2 LLC appeal for proposed medical marijuana facility located at 18 West Pike. 18 West Pike. And just for the record, what some of the things that they're appealing categories are scoring in community development, facility planning, neighborhood land use, community impact, philanthropic, and community improvement. So, do I have anything from any of the commissioners regarding the appeal on Green Buddha 2 LLC, 18 West Pike?
No discussion here.
Yes, Paul Wilson. Discussions that I have, I see on May the 18th, 2021, they received the original score of 99 out of 130. This is for the one that I'm talking about on 18 West Pike. And then on they asked for an appeal with that, and in the appeal, there were a couple of things I read in the appeal. They looked at the scoring criteria guideline itself, and I also agree with the hearing officer that the arguments for the scoring criteria on the guideline were without merit. But when I look at facility planning, on pages 14 of 31 of the city application permit, it clearly spelled out the guidelines. I did look at the criterias in the permit for the application instructions. I also looked at the scoring criteria guidelines as to what was given in those, and for facility planning on page 14 of 31, I thought that the guidelines were spelled out quite well for facility planning. Also, on pages 12 and 13 of 21, in the city application instructions, it also gave the guidelines pretty clearly there. Therefore, I agree with the hearing officer's scoring process that he used, and I did note that on July the 16th, that score was changed, was not changed. As a matter of fact, they still the same score, 99 out of 130. Therefore, I agree with the hearing officer's numbers that he put down after reviewing that, and especially after reviewing all of the guidelines.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Yes, Maley here. I reviewed the appeal, and then using that, the application sheet and the scoring criteria, as well as the ordinances, to just go through the application information that was provided, and just step by step to see what I could find. And on the original score, as was already stated by Commissioner Wilson, a score of 99 out of 130 was found deficient in the background information, community development, 7 of 10 score, facility planning, a 1 of 8, land use, the neighborhood safety was a 1 of 10, so -9 there. Community impact was also -9 with a 1 of 10 rating. Philanthropic and community improvement portion of the land use was a 7 of 10. In the community development portion of that application, the application contained multiple references to the wrong city for charitable giving and volunteering plans. That displays inattention to detail, not found in other applications. Under the facility planning, the application and scoring criteria guide listed subcategories of, checking off floor plan for facility, description of the renovations, the time needed to complete the renovation and setup, a scale diagram illustrating the property, and then per paragraph 2 of that Section 8, C19, it's asking that that scale drawing be signed and sealed by a licensed surveyor. Another thing asked for in the criteria is depiction of proposed text or graphic materials to be proposed, or posted rather, the size and nature, size and nature of the graphic signs, and if there were any, a number of signs. I did see that they had provided, the sealed land survey, but not the building detail drawing as was specified per the application ask. Also missing were any descriptions of the renovations, time needed to complete, and the size and number of signs. Why not just write 0? So I have to agree with those ratings in a whole. On land use, the neighborhood safety was marked down. The community impact and philanthropic community improvement areas were the big areas, and some of the information was provided, but was not readily apparent or mislabeled, and therefore marked as missing. I could not immediately find it in the body of the application, I saw that the appeal mentioned that it was provided and labeled as something else, But I agree with the score that was given there. So on the whole, the ask is that this application receive the full 130 points, and I disagree.
Okay, thank you, sir. As for me, like my other commissioners, I did go back and review the application, the areas where the appeal had problems with, and I looked at the initial scoring and the review by the hearing officer of the appeal, and as was noted, some of the issues with the application was the improper listing of the city. Listed the city of Lansing in some of the areas of the initial application submission documents. And then there were insufficient information in other areas that was noted by the initial reviewers as well as the hearing officer. And I went back and looked at the information, and I too verified that there was information that could have been provided that was not. One thing that I did note is that in the hearing officer review, community development was addressed, facility planning, neighborhood land use, and philanthropic and community improvement was addressed. And the hearing officer did not recommend a change of score. But there was an additional item that has been listed for review by us today, which is community impact. That was not raised at the hearing officer level. So I did go back and look at that, what the initial reviewer of this category scored. The reviewer had some issues with the details of the plan that was submitted, and I reviewed it, and I did not feel that the reviewer was out of line in its score. So the city clerk adopted the recommendation of the hearing officer in arriving at a final score. So I'm good with how things were done, and I don't find anything arbitrary or capricious about what the final score for Green Buddha 2 LLC at 18 West Pike. Okay. All right. So having said that, we'll move on to item number 5, which will be a resolution on Green Buddha. Green Buddha 2 LLC appeal for proposed medical marijuana facility located at 18 West Pike. And just for my fellow commissioners, I'll read the resolution, and a vote of yes will be a denial of the appeal. And so we will, I'll read it, and I'll ask for a motion to act on this resolution. Resolution on Green Buddha 2 LLC, appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission for a proposed medical marijuana facility located at 18 West Pike. Whereas in 2018, voters approved the City of Pontiac Medical Marijuana Facilities Ordinance, Ordinance 2357B, and whereas Ordinance 2357B gives the city clerk the responsibility to score and rank applications for provisioning centers using a 130-point scoring system and awarding permits to the 20 highest scoring applicants. And whereas the City of Pontiac adopted Ordinance 2363, an ordinance to include medical marijuana facility uses in designated overlay districts, and whereas Ordinance 2363, Section 2.546, Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center, Section F, licensing states that no more than 5 provisioning centers shall be established in each of the medical marijuana overlay districts, including Cesar Chavez, Walton Boulevard, and C-2 downtown overlay districts. And whereas Ordinance 2363, no more than 5 provisioning centers shall be established in the C-1, C-3, and C-4 zone properties combined outside of the medical marijuana overlay districts, and whereas the city clerk accepted provisioning center applications by overlay districts and the non-overlay for a 21-day period, January 6th through 27th, 2020, and whereas the city clerk ranked and scored provisioning centers by district using a 130-point scoring system, and whereas the city clerk informed Green Buddha that their application for a provisioning center located at 18 West Pike in the downtown overlay district had received a score of 99 of 130 and a ranking of 13 of 23 on May 18, 2021, and whereas Green Buddha appealed the score and ranking to the city clerk since his application was denied because it was not ranked in the top 5 for the downtown overlay district. The city clerk appointed Greenwald Law PLLC to serve as the hearing officer. The hearing officer conducted a hearing on July 16, 2021. The hearing officer issued a recommendation to the city clerk. The city clerk adopted the hearing officer recommendation. Based on the hearing officer recommendation and other appeals in the downtown overlay district, Green Buddha ranking changed from 13 to 15 and remained not ranked in the top 5. The city clerk affirmed his decision to deny Green Buddha application. And whereas Ordinance 2357B allows an applicant to further appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission, and whereas Green Buddha submitted an appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission on September 10, 2021, and whereas the city attorney issued a recommendation to the Medical Marijuana Commission to deny Green Buddha appeal, and whereas the Medical Marijuana Commission reviewed Green Buddha appeal and the city attorney's recommendation, now therefore be it resolved, the Medical Marijuana Commission finds no basis to overturn the clerk's decision to deny Green Buddha 2 LLC application for a provisioning center in the downtown overlay district located at 18 West Pike. Can I get a motion to take action on this? Oh. Just a second. Point of order.
So we want to clarify, if you want to vote to deny the appeal, you need to vote yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. The vote yes is denying the appeal. Thank you, sir. Can I get a motion to take action? Can I get a second?
Paul Wilson, second motion.
Okay. Roll call.
Porath. Yes. Ford.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Maley.
Thank you. Next item is item number 6. Discussion on Green Buddha 2 LLC appeal for proposed medical marijuana facility located at 20 Whittemore. Okay. Are there any comments from any commissioners? Yes. Go ahead. Excuse me, Commissioner, is your microphone on?
This application contained many of the same mistakes as the 18 West Pike, including an improper reference to the Pike Street address for some of the improvements rather than the 20 Whittemore. Other scoring was addressed and adjusted during the initial appeal, but here again the appellant argues for the full 130 points, and I disagree. There were just too many deficiencies.
Any more discussion?
Yes, there and again, I did take a look at the criteria that was spelled out on page 9 of the, on page 9, and it's item number G that spelled out the scoring process. There and again, Green Buddha for 20 Whittemore, they did talk about the scoring process itself and per categories, but that's spelled out clearly on page 9. It states that the overall score and ranking shall be conducted and applied by the clerk on the basis of assigned points in the gave you a limit as to what the points would be. The other thing that I found out in Green Buddha's case, 20 Whittemore Street did use some of the same material that they used for 18 Pike Street as opposed to addressing it and changing the address on it. I did see that they were informed of their ranking on May the 18th. They had a score of 96 out of 130 points. When they appealed that process on June the 1st, the hearing officer did take a look at it, and he did make some recommendations to add an additional 9 points to it. And after the city clerk reviewed that, they did add the additional 9 points, which changed their score from 96 out of 130 to 105 out of 130. There and again, I agree with the process that the hearing officer used for the part of the same reasons that I used on Green Buddha and 18 West Pike Street. Same thing applies to 20 West Pike Street. I agree with the hearing officer and the city clerk score.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Commissioner Pontiac, I'd like to note on that too, that seems to be something popping up all the time, is the section 8C19 about, in part reads, such scale diagram must be in the form of a property survey prepared by a licensed professional surveyor. The appellants say, you know, we got it from them and submitted it, but we just took the information and put it in there, rather than putting in the actual, or in other words, I'm sorry, that they took the information and put it there, which they could have taken the whole survey, which would have given the signature of the licensed surveyor. This might be a little loose, but in the end, it says, you know, prepared by licensed professional surveyor. So just pop that in there, and you're done. So in other words, I agree with the hearings officer on that, and it does, you know, like you said, bring it up to 105 from 96. So I think that just has to be shown, because that's popping up a lot to me, but it still means that you got to have a signed, licensed, professional document put in there. So that's what I have to say on that. Doesn't change that the scoring and everything. However, it just I agree with the hearing officer on the points changed and keeping it at that 105 up from the 96. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. And for me, again, as with Green Buddha for West Pike, Green Buddha 2 LLC for a proposed site for 20 Whittemore, I noted that there was some mislabeling of documents. As far as for this application, it listed the 18 West Pike Street location for this location, and there were other things that I found as far as things were lacking, and you know, just for the record, the categories that they were appealing were, as far as scoring, were facility planning, neighborhood land use, community impact, and physical improvements. And I reviewed the appeal officer hearing recommendations, and they were awarded additional points that raised their score from 96 to 105, but there were no changes in the areas of facility planning, neighborhood land use, or community impact. So I went back and looked at those to see if I had an issue with the scoring by the reviewer, or the scoring by, or the lack of a recommendation in the change in scoring by the hearing officer. And I did not have a problem with that. And I found that the appeal by the hearing officer was very thorough. The hearing officer did recommend additional points. The city clerk, in arriving at the final score, did adopt a recommendation of awarding points by the hearing officer, awarding additional points to the applicant by the hearing officer. Therefore, with everything that I saw, reviewed, and I am good with this final score of the city clerk, and do not find it to be arbitrary or capricious. Having said that, we'll go to item number 7, a resolution on Green Buddha 2 LLC, appeal for proposed medical marijuana facility located at 20 Whittemore. Again, Commissioners, I will read the resolution, and if we move to act on it, a vote of yes will be a denial of the appeal. Resolution on Green Buddha 2 LLC, appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission for a proposed medical marijuana facility located at 20 Whittemore. Whereas in 2018, voters approved the City of Pontiac Medical Marijuana Facilities Ordinance 2357B, and whereas Ordinance 2357B gives the city clerk the responsibility to score and rank applications for provisioning centers using a 130-point scoring system and awarding permits to the 20 highest scoring applicants, and whereas the City of Pontiac adopted Ordinance 2363, an ordinance to include medical marijuana facility uses in designated overlay districts, and whereas Ordinance 2363, Section 2.546, Medical Marijuana Provisioning Center, Section F, Licensing, states that no more than 5 provisioning centers shall be established in each of the medical marijuana overlay districts, including Cesar Chavez, Walton Boulevard, and C-2 downtown overlay districts. And whereas Ordinance 2363, no more than 5 provisioning centers shall be established in the C-1, C-3, and C-4 zone properties combined outside of the medical marijuana overlay districts. And whereas the city clerk accepted provisioning center applications by overlay districts and the non-overlay for a 21-day period, January 6 through 27, 2020. And whereas the city clerk ranked and scored provisioning centers by district using a 130-point scoring system. And whereas the city clerk informed Green Buddha 2 LLC that their application for a provisioning center located at 20 Whittemore in the downtown overlay district had received a score of 96 of 130 and a ranking of 16 of 23 on May 18, 2021. And whereas Green Buddha 2 LLC appealed the score and ranking to the city clerk since his application was denied because it was not ranked in the top 5 for the downtown overlay district, the city clerk appointed Grewal Law P. LLC to serve as the hearing officer. The hearing officer conducted a hearing on July 16, 2021. The hearing officer issued a recommendation to the city clerk. The city clerk adopted the hearing officer recommendation. Based on the hearing officer recommendation and other appeals in the downtown overlay district, Green Buddha 2 LLC ranking changed from 16 to 11 and remained not ranked in the top 5. The city clerk affirmed his decision to deny Green Buddha 2 LLC application. And whereas Ordinance 2357B allows an applicant to further appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission, and whereas Green Buddha 2 LLC submitted an appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission on September 10, 2021, and whereas the city attorney issued a recommendation to the Medical Marijuana Commission to deny Green Buddha 2 LLC appeal, and whereas the Medical Marijuana Commission reviewed Green Buddha 2 LLC appeal and the city attorney's recommendation, now therefore be it resolved, the Medical Marijuana Commission finds no basis to overturn the city clerk's decision to deny Green Buddha 2 LLC application for a provisioning center in the downtown overlay district located at 20 Whittemore. Can I get a move to take action on this resolution?
Move to take action.
Can I get a support? Okay, it's been moved and supported Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Ford,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Maley, Pratt.
Yes.
Thank you. Next item is item number 7, number 8, item number 8. Discussion on 1600 Broadway LLC appeal. And just for the record, the areas of scoring that they are appealing are facility planning, resident safety, neighborhood land use, community impact, and philanthropic and community impact. Okay. Is there any discussion from any of the commissioners?
Yeah, a discussion I would like to make on this. I happen to notice that the original score that they received at 1600 Broadway LLC was a total of 91 points out of 130 points. And looking at it, the hearing officer did take a look at they did appeal the process, and the appeal was heard on June 1st, 2021. What I noted in the hearing officer's information under security, they did change the award and give them the maximum point. Also, under facility planning, they gave them an additional 1 point under that. Under patient's education, there and again, after the hearing officer listened to it, he gave them the maximum points on that one also. Under land use and looking at that, they did revise it. However, they did not receive the maximum number of points. Under land use and neighborhood, the hearing officer left that total at the same. Under community impact, under community improvement, that too was left the same. Community impact, they did increase it. The hearing officer, after reviewing the total process, changed the score by a total of 14 points. So it did increase their score from 91 points, 91 out of 130. After making the changes of the total of 14 points, it gave them a total of 105 out of 130 points. I noted that the city clerk did take all of those items under advisement. When I went back and looked at the process and also looked at the application under 2357B and read what the requirements were under those issues, I did agree and concur with what the hearing officer awarded the scores to be. At least I concur with his conclusion under the scoring process. So I agree with the additional 14 points that was added to change it from a total of 91 out of 130 to 105 out of 130. So I agree with the hearing officers.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Commissioner Porras, I agree with the extra points awarded. I was noticing, though, with this appeal that in at least one section there was what they were appealing, they had already received the full number of points for. And then what they were being, but then another couple sections of it in there were completely missed. Documentation was not put into that application, to the appeal, sorry. So, and they were still given points for that by the hearing officer. So, in other words, it just sounds to me like some of the, weren't really paying attention to a lot of the application, excuse me, and appeal stuff. However, they were given the points, and I agree with the number of points they're taking. So that's all I have to say on that.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. The cable guy says, please speak into the mic when the commissioners are talking.
then? You want me to repeat what I said?
Well, I mean, it's not necessary, but just going forward, please make sure your mic is on and that you're actually speaking to the mic.
Thank you, sir. As for me, like the other commissioners, I did review the application, and I looked at the original scoring. I looked at the hearing officer recommendation, and I noted that, like the other commissioners noted, that there was an increase in, 3 areas: facility planning, resident safety, and community impact. Then there were no changes in the scoring for neighborhood land use or philanthropic and community improvement. So and I went back and looked at those 2 areas to see if I had an issue with the denial of additional scoring or the initial scoring by the initial reviewer. And I did not have a problem with it. Like was mentioned, there was some information that was lacking in the original application. The fact that the fact that the hearing officer did end up awarding additional 14 points, I found that the hearing officer's review to be thorough and actually quite favorable to the applicant in the long run. Nonetheless, I did find that there were some things lacking in the application. Therefore, I feel like that did have an impact on the scoring, both initially as well as under review by the hearing officer. And nonetheless, the city clerk did adopt a recommendation of awarding points by the hearing officer at arriving at final score. So I'm good with the final score that the city clerk did adopt, and I do not find that that score to be arrived at arbitrarily or capriciously. So I'm ready to move forward. Having said that, we'll move to item number 9, which is a resolution on 1600 Broadway LLC. Again, Commissioners, I will read the resolution, and at the end, I will ask for a motion to move on it, and then a vote of yes for the resolution will be a denial of the appeal. Resolution on 1600 Broadway LLC, appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission. Whereas in 2018, voters approved the City of Pontiac Medical Marijuana Facilities Ordinance 2357B, and whereas Ordinance 2357B gives the city clerk the responsibility to score and rank applications for provisioning centers using a 130-point scoring system and awarding permits to the 20 highest scoring applicants, and whereas the City of Pontiac adopted Ordinance 2363, an ordinance to include medical marijuana facility uses in designated overlay districts, and whereas Ordinance 2363, Section 2.546, Medical Marijuana Provisioning Centers, Section F, licensing, states that no more than 5 provisioning centers shall be established in each of the medical marijuana overlay districts, including Cesar Chavez, Walton Boulevard, and C-2 downtown overlay districts. And whereas Ordinance 2363, no more than 5 provisioning centers shall be established in the C-1, C-3, and C-4 zoned properties combined outside of the medical marijuana overlay districts. And whereas the city clerk accepted provisioning center applications by overlay districts and a non-overlay for a 21-day period, January 6 through 27, 2020. And whereas the city clerk ranked and scored provisioning centers by district using a 130-point scoring system, and whereas the city clerk informed 1600 Broadway LLC that their application for a provisioning center in the downtown overlay district had received a score of 91 of 130 and a ranking 19 of 23 on May 18, 2021, whereas 1600 Broadway LLC appealed the score and ranking to the city clerk since his application was denied because it was not ranked in the top 5 for the downtown overlay district. The city clerk appointed Greenwald Law PLLC to serve as the hearing officer. The hearing officer conducted a hearing on July 16, 2021. The hearing officer issued a recommendation to the city clerk. The city clerk adopted the hearing officer recommendation. Based on the hearing officer recommendation and other appeals in the downtown overlay district, 1600 Broadway LLC ranking changed from 19 to 11 and remained not ranked in the top 5. The city clerk affirmed his decision to deny 1600 Broadway LLC application, and whereas ordinance 2357B allows an applicant to further appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission, and whereas 1600 Broadway LLC submitted an appeal to the Medical Marijuana Commission on September 10, 2021, and whereas the city attorney issued a recommendation to the Medical Marijuana Commission to deny 1600 Broadway LLC appeal, and whereas the Medical Marijuana Commission reviewed 1600 Broadway LLC appeal and the city attorney's recommendation, now therefore be it resolved, the Medical Marijuana Commission finds no basis to overturn the clerk's decision to deny 1600 Broadway LLC application for a provisioning center in a downtown overlay district. Got to get a motion to take action on this resolution.
Motion to take action.
Second? Can I get a second?
Second motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Wilson,
Yes.
Maley,
Yes.
Parath,
Yes.
Ford.
Yes. Thank you. Next item is public comment. Anyone wish to speak, come to the podium, identify yourself, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. Okay. Hearing or seeing none? Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second? Been, have a motion made to adjourn, been second. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Maley, Parath,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes to adjourn.
Wilson.
Yes to adjourn.
Okay. According to my clock, it is now 6:52, and this meeting is officially adjourned.